Hello, my ragtime gal. Hello, everyone. If you are tuning in after the fact, not watching this live, by all means, feel free to fast forward to 00:00. Dr. Dan Baker, I'm rocking. Check out rocking the t-shirt. It looks like we still got some bit mapping issues or bandwidth issues, which we haven't quite figured out yet since we went to the new cameras. It is a new camera thing. But if you come in after the fact, 00:00, then you go right to the story, man. You go right to the story. Great time for a cough to kick in, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing? Matt McRoberts, how you doing? Rob Otto in his house. Cobalt, of course. Kim Hansen, hey, hey. Dr. Daniel Baker, PhD. Don Shipley, hello, everybody. I'm going to get a cough drop because I'm already coughing, which is probably not a great thing for the live read. But I have them. They're handy. They're right here. Hello, my honey. Hello, my baby. Hello, my ragtime gal. We have a great guest for you guys today who's actually in the studio. I'll not be making lip smacking noises when we do the live read. Of course, not at all. Joining us in the studio today is none other than Evo Terra, the godfather of fiction podcasting, who really kind of launched the whole concept of fiction podcasting way back when with a show called The Dragon Page, which we will discuss when he comes on after the live read. So pretty excited to have him here. I'm about to head out on a writing retreat with Rob Otto, and Evo is he's gonna watch over things on the home front. I'm gonna be gone for a while. He's gonna take care of things. He's gonna take care of you. It's gonna be okay. So that he'll be up later. Great dude. Very happy to have him on the show. Tonight's live read is episode 102 of Slay. New phone, who dis? And it was called episode 102 telecommunications because there's some phones involved. And then I'm like, Jesus Christ. After I already made the album art and everything else, I'm like, nah, it's got to be new phone, who dis? Rob, I have a frog in my throat. That's true. Indiana Jim, what the fuck's up, bro? Yep, have Evo on. Indiana Jim's coming out of the woodwork. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. All right, y'all. Got people pouring in on YouTube. YouTube seems to be our biggest user base right now. It was Facebook by far, was Facebook. Now it is YouTube, then Facebook, and then we get our regulars on Twitch. Twitchers, holler if you're out in the audience there. Rich No says, been AWOL over the past couple of weeks. I'm back now. Scott, the story rocks. Thank you very much. Rob and I are working very, very hard on it. And let's see. You guys, if you can, review. What are the gangster in there? Oh, Gangsters out in paperback. If you've just got your paperback, review that over at Amazon. You can review it on Audible. And Slay, we have not yet broke 100 reviews for the Slay audiobook. I want that shit done. I'm going to put that in a newsletter. And if you're Audible fans or Audible customers and you have not yet left a review for Slay, go give us a big fat 5 stars. Those things really, really help. They trip the algorithm, and that helps keep food on the table. Of course, speaking of newsletters, let's go to BAP, go to main. Right there, newsletters. What's up? Go to scottslegal.com/newsletter. I have not got one out in a while, but at least you know I'm not spamming you. That's a great way to stay in touch with what's going on. And of course, the SMS list continues to grow. Over 1,000 people on it now. It's awesome. Just text the word SIGTEXT to 855-955-5095, and you will get messages from me. It'll be great. Today's sponsor is, since we're going old school with Evo, we're going to talk about our old school sponsor, GoDaddy. That's right. The GoDaddy code CJCFOSSIG3. I don't know where they come up with these numbers. Jot that shit down. If you ever need a new domain, if you know someone else who needs a new domain, you want to give them that. It gets you 99% off the first year of a 3-year new domain registration. Scott Aiken, Dr. Campbell in the house. What's going on, everybody? Don's still on Facebook. Yeah, you can't converse effectively in other platforms. Christine M., thank you so much for reviewing Slay on Amazon. I appreciate it. Lord of the Rings girl in the house. Edward, Rocco, Neoka Wilson. Dylan, what's going on, man? Long-time reader, first time tuning in. Everybody, Please welcome Dylan. He's watching us on YouTube. It's always great to get people who have not been part of the show before to come hang out with us and have a good time. Paul Carlson, what's going on? Paul Carlson, are you in Italy? I can't quite make that out. I need some glasses. Paul says, holla back from Mexico. I think he's in Mexico. It's small sizes. I can't tell those two flags apart. Sorry. Sean Dyer in the house. What's going on? Chris Grawl, looks like you're caught up in everything. Christine, the dogs are fantastic, and they've already become enamored with Evo and Sheila, who will be watching over them for us for a little while. Yes, they will. They'll be watching for us. Dylan's finally caught up on Slay. Great. So you get to enjoy the live. So Dylan, if you've not watched a live one before and you haven't watched the videos after the fact, a lot of times I'll do this. And no, I'm not being jazzy. No, it's not the Jets will meet the Sharks tonight. The Jets will have their night tonight. No, it's not West Side Story. This is what we do to let the editor know. Oh, I flubbed that because you can see little spikes and stuff. It helps us process the audio for the podcast. Paul Carlson is in Mexico. Fantastic. Dr. Perril's in the house. How you doing? All right. William Holt, hello from your neighbor. Hello, William. How are you doing? Welcome, neighbor. I'm not sure where you are in the whole bigger picture of things, but yeah, Indiana Jim, you're right. I am fairly jazzy. That was one of the first soundtracks that I was familiar with. There was the soundtrack for Grease, soundtrack for West Side Story, and like an early Bee Gees album. Those were the 78s that were in the house at the time. And of course, the Jungle Book. The Jungle Book 78 was fantastic. Gosh, I can't remember. I can't call up any Jungle Book songs right off the top of my head, except for you look under a rug and take a glance at the fancy ants and maybe try a few. You mean eat them, Baloo? The bare necessities of life will come to you. Yeah, come to you. Yeah. So there's a little, I got some jazz going on in there. Nothing's jazzy as the Bee Gees, though, ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest. Christine says she's better now. Slices on, popcorn, yellow stripe smile. Love it. Timothy Clark from Alaska. Yeah, also, Dylan, that is the drinking game. If you want and are imbibing, you have a little sippy poo every time I do this. Now, some nights you do a whopping, 3 drinks. Other nights, somebody's got to call an ambulance for you because I'm just not on top of it. Flight of the Bicycle. Greetings from Northern Indiana. Of course, Rob, will I sing I Feel Pretty? I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and gay and some. I can't remember the rest of it. Things are going to go my way. La 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 la. It's so good. That movie is awesome, dude. Gang fights, knife fights in the streets, arguing with the cops. It's just got everything you could possibly want in a movie. It's quite fun. One of the only 2 musicals that I actually like. All right, let's get over to Maine. Got to spit out my lifesaver right there. We'll get that out of the way. We're going to go, Daddy. Bring up our sleigh lower third. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get... Oops, I forgot to bring up Logic. Gosh darn it. Hello, Steve Rickyberg. Steve the Iceberg Rickyberg. What's going on? Give me 1 second, people. I was almost fully prepared, but not quite. You know why? You got me singing show tunes. Second, give me singing show tunes. The fuck am I supposed to do, man? There's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, I'm in a pretty good mood. I was in an okay mood last week. I've been tired. I'm so tired. So tired. Let me double check I got this going on here. Boom, 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 boom. I have audio. All right, here we go, ladies and gents. Let's get into it. Okay, and away we go. Previously on Slay, it's time for Linc, Billy, and the huge suit of armor that is controlled by Magda and contains a drugged-up Mercutio to transit to Alnwick, England, for their caper to retrieve a piece of Callista's soul. The other members of the team, Dante Oganov, Cray-Cray Bray, and the shapeshifter known as Faceless, await. Meanwhile, The bounty hunter Icepick, who was hired by Vestinian to find Dante, is searching for clues to track the goblin down. Callista called Icepick to her club thinking he might have been behind Mercutio's kidnapping. Instead of torching Icepick, though, the Fire Witch hired him to find the missing man. Now, Icepick has two bosses. Can he serve them both at the same time? Find out next on Slay, episode 102. Century-old doors had not been designed with large suits of plate armor in mind. Getting Sir Arnaud the Pure's cursed rig into the Old Stone Church's men's room took some doing. The hulking monstrosity seemed stuck, half in and half out, despite Billy leaning against it, trying to push it through, his boot soles comically sliding across the hallway's tile floor as he tried to shove it in. "Little to the right," Billy said. "Your cullet is stuck in the frame. Come on, Come on, Mags. Pivot! Pivot!" His armpit resting on the stupid shoulder rest of the stupid crutch, Lincoln stood a few feet down the hallway, watching the debacle. Ariella stood by his side. "What a shit show," she said. The process would have been easier if the 8-foot-tall black armor hadn't had to duck down to fit through. The big-ass shoulder spikes didn't help much either. And Dragon wasn't helping at all. The Blackford Dachshund thought it was some kind of game, one she played by pawing madly at Billy's right leg, barking, then pawing his left leg and barking some more, her tail wagging so violently it had her on the edge of falling over the entire time. Whatever her game, it involved a lot of repetition, which meant a lot of barking. "Billy," Armor Magda said in that demonic voice, deeper than the pits of hell. "Are you saying I've got a fat cullet? I'll have you know I've been working out." Lincoln couldn't help them because Magda wouldn't allow it. He was hurt, he had to remember. He could damage his leg further, he had to remember. Ariella didn't help them because she was Ariella. Things like this were not her style, especially since she was back to looking like herself again. The skirt, the heels, and long red nails didn't exactly scream manual labor. "Just chant the magic words already," she said. "Let Mercutio fall, drag him inside, and then say the chant again." That would have been a grand idea. None of them had thought of it. Hindsight and shit. "Can't," Armor Magda said. "Gotta save all the armor's filament stores for the mission. We've almost got it. Come on, Billy. Use your grown man strength. I was calling you Big B, but maybe you're still Little B after all." Billy redoubled his efforts. If Lincoln hadn't been so frustrated about his father and hadn't been in so much pain from the leg thanks to Caro factors being pulled, he might have laughed. "Dragon," Billy said through clenched teeth. "Go through the other side, get big, grab Magda's arm, and pull. Hurry up." Dragon skittered between his legs, wove through the blacker-than-black armor's legs, and into the bathroom. "This isn't a shit show," Lincoln said. "It's more than that. I'd put it squarely between train wreck and clusterfuck." If they had let him help, it would already be done. But no! He had a widow boo-boo and might break his precious widow leg again. A crack and splintering rip of wood tearing apart. Billy and Armor Magda tumbled through, much of the old door frame going with them. A clang of ancient steel hitting the floor and probably a bathroom stall and a sink or two on the way, and a very dog-like yelp from a 15-foot-long dragon. Ariella shook her head. "Stunads, I swear." She looked at Lincoln. Yet another thing I need to have fixed. And don't think for a second I missed the goddamn abattoir in the nave. Did you have extra blood trucked in just to fuck with my furniture? Her furniture. Of course, she looked at it that way. Sorry, Lincoln said. I'm sure you are. You have the sphere I gave you? Like he could forget. None of them were taking cell phones, just in case Calista somehow triangulated, if that's what the fuck it was called, that he was in England. Alnwick, to be precise. The small sphere he carried in an ammo pouch on his webbing would be the only way they could communicate with Ariella if they needed anything. Which, truth be told, Ariella probably couldn't provide, seeing as she would be half a world away. Yeah, I got it. Look, we gotta get going. Are you gonna tell me how to control Mercutio or not? We don't know if he'll sleep the whole time. She had taken responsibility for that part of the mission, and she had ignored all requests for specifics. In answer to his question, she offered her phone. Take this. I pulled the SIM card and killed the wireless. There's no tracking. If Mercutio wakes up and causes problems, show him the pictures that are saved on it. Tell him that if he cooperates, or at least doesn't make a stink, the photos and my copies of them will be deleted. And if he doesn't cooperate, he knows where the pictures will go. Lincoln took the phone. What, those selfies you took with him? What good are those? A memory fluttered back. A recent one. Ariella saying they couldn't grab Mercutio at his place. Ariella saying they couldn't grab Mercutio at his place because his house was full of little talismans from Callista. And another snippet from that same conversation. Ariella saying they could not cut out Mercutio's heart, that they had to take him alive, keep him alive. Dante saying Mercutio would kill Ariella in a heartbeat if their positions were reversed. No, she had said. He wouldn't do that. You gotta be shitting me, Lincoln. You've got to be shitting me, Lincoln said. He leaned closer and whispered, Are you fucking Mercutio too? Ariella winked, false eyelashes batting together like a Venus flytrap grabbing prey. Don't worry, Linc, she whispered. It was before your time. From the bathroom came the deep growl of armor Magda. Gross! There's dragon spit all over my arm. Ariella had hooked up with Mercutio? Well, whatever. Lincoln didn't own her. He wasn't jealous. Or was he? High-pitched barking ripped from the bathroom. Dragon had shrunk down again and was overly excited. It seemed she was always overly excited. We broke one of the sinks, Billy called out. Sorry. Ariella rubbed at her temples. You idiots think that I'm made of money? Shut that damn dog up. He's giving me a migraine. Dragon did not shut up. I'm stuck again, Armor Magda said. Well, Ariella could do whatever or whoever she wanted. Still, Lincoln would have liked to know that the lover of the woman who kept his son in purgatory had also been... Oops. Yep, got it. Still, Lincoln would have liked to know that the lover of the woman who kept his son in purgatory had also been Ariella's lover. That was just common courtesy, wasn't it? Sure, Lincoln and Ariella were keeping their own booty-knocking secret from Billy and Magda, but the smooching selfies. If he doesn't cooperate, he'll know where the pictures go. Ariella was going to send the pictures to Callista. To jealous Callista. No. No fucking way. Ariella, Lincoln said, fighting to keep his voice low. When you say this happened before my time, exactly how long before I visited your place for the first time was that? She shrugged. Hard to recall the exact dates. Maybe a week or two before you tried to kill me. Tried to kill her because Calista had ordered it. No reason given, no context, just kill that lawyer bitch. Was that contract she put in your head because you and Merc were hooking up? Ariella said nothing. Her non-answer was answer enough. Blazing hells, Lincoln said. He had been trained by the Bastion. He had killed ogres, cyclopses, wizards, manticores, vampires, shit-gibbons, Mogrins, lycanthropes, mudwuggies, feral unicorns, doppelgangers, and like a whole bunch more. He had slain monsters of all shapes and all sizes. He was the best bounty hunter in the business, and he was a goddamn Franks for crying out loud. And Callista had sent him to settle a lover's spat. What an asshole she was. Another old metal crash from the bathroom, punctuated by the tinkle of broken porcelain. We broke the other sink, Billy said. Sorry, and someone should call a plumber. It's all wet in here. Ariella took off her glasses and rubbed at the bridge of her nose. Dragon kept barking, which pissed Ariella off. Hopefully, while Lincoln, Magda, and Billy were gone, Dragon would keep barking. The pup could not come with. Not this time. For a mission that required stealth and finesse, she was just too unpredictable. So I'm supposed to blackmail Mercutio, Lincoln said, with something that hasn't really happened. After I tried to kill you, I mean. Really? Is that how we work now? She put the glasses back on, snarled as water flowed out the door and into the hallway. You do realize the entire purpose of this mission is to blackmail Calista, yeah? That was a good point. And yet it felt different. It felt dirty. Dirty-er, anyway. Merc consented to having a cipher embedded in his heart. He knew the risks, had to have known, or at least considered, that might someday make him a target for Callista's enemies. Using him to blackmail her was fine, because she was evil. She had it coming. But using staged photos to blackmail him, it just didn't feel right. Lincoln knew that little bit of morality came because he and Merc had fought side by side against Dante and his goons. If Merc hadn't fought, would it still feel the same? Probably not. That said more about Lincoln than it did about Mercutio, or about Ariella, yet there it was. Dragon, back in her dachshund form, scurried out of the bathroom, fur hanging like a soaked shag carpet. She tried to stop, slipped in the spreading puddle, thudded against the wall, got up, and shook herself off. Shook hard. Water sprayed on Ariella and Lincoln. God damn it, Ariella said. Billy, get your stupid dog. I will in a second, Billy called back. I almost had Mags on her feet. And as soon as she was on her feet, Lincoln was taking Billy and Armor Magda into transit to Alnwick. Ariella would have to clean up the hall. And clean up Dragon, since real Magda... got it. And clean up Dragon, since real Magda was in a filament-induced coma in her bedroom and would be until the team returned. Ariella would hate that. Good. What makes you think Merc will just let himself be blackmailed? He asked her. He didn't do anything wrong. And this time, he'll just tell Calista the truth. Like a wind-up toy wound far too tight, Dragon, eyes wide, tongue lolling with joy, sprinted past Lincoln and Ariella, spraying up more water, which was to be expected considering the rippling puddle that expanded both up the hall and downward as well, turning the stairs to the garage into the world's smallest little waterfall. Because he already lied to her, Ariella said, about me and him. Calista forgave him, but gave him... Callista forgave him, but gave him one hell of a warning as to what would happen if he ever cheated on her again. I'm not going to tell you what she promised, but I can tell you that Mercutio would really, really like to avoid seeing his twigs and berries slowly burn to a crisp. Lincoln couldn't help but wince at that thought. So, yeah, Ariella said, I don't think he'll take that chance. Would you? As if Lincoln would ever sleep with that incendiary demon spawn in the first place. She's up, Billy called out. Mags, stay here. I'm gonna go get some paper towels. Ariella sighed. Paper towels. The lot of you conspire to drive me crazy, I swear. As usual, I'll clean up the mess here. Which, of course, meant she would call someone else to clean it up. Because that's what Ariella did. Billy stepped out of the bathroom, water beaded on his white scale armor, soaked into his fireproof black jeans. Get back in there, Lincoln said. We're leaving. Billy looked up and down the hall, saw the mess he and Magda had made, then nodded. Yeah, that's probably a pretty good idea, he said. Ariella, you will take good care of Dragon? Was this the 10th time he had asked her that, or the 11th? It was getting hard to keep track. I told you I would, she said. Good luck, Billy. He glanced up and down the hall a second time, then slipped back into the bathroom. You better get going, Lincoln, Ariella said. Dante, Faceless, and Cray-Cray Bray are all waiting. You go and do the blackmail you think is good. If necessary, do the other blackmail you think is bad. I've got to go make some calls. With that, she turned and strode down the hall, heading for the entryway, her high heels splashing in still flowing water. Lincoln crutch-walked into the bathroom, sloshing through a good inch of water. Both sinks had broken off the wall. A veritable fountain sprayed from one of them. The first stall door had a cursed armor of Sir Arnaud the Pure on it. The last stall's door had been ripped clean off the hinges and leaned against the wall. Had to be done so the armor could fit in there. When Ariella saw that, she'd, you know what? Fuck Ariella. And not in a good way. Nothing like kicking the mission off on a positive note. Gods, did he need a drink. Lincoln slid into the last stall, a task made awkward by the stupid crutch, and squeezed between a wet Billy and a wet, 8-foot-tall suit of armor, both of whom, like Lincoln, carried enough weaponry to conquer a small nation. We're late, Lincoln said. Y'all ready? Billy nodded. I am, but could you turn your hips a little? Your codpiece poke me right in the butt. I swear, Armor Magda said. Two guys going into a bathroom stall together one time. Billy laughed. So did Lincoln. Not as much, but it surprised him to laugh. It felt good. He put his gauntleted hand on the wall. Runes appeared, lines of glowing, ethereal silver hovering atop the tile. Billy put his palm on the tile, then Armor Magda placed her huge, deep black gauntlet beside Billy's hand. Now, all they had to do was flush. I appreciate you guys doing this with me, Lincoln said. I really do. He reached for the handle and couldn't reach it. He was too packed in with the others. Billy, can you flush for me? Billy laughed again. I swear, you do a three-way with your best pals in the bathroom one time, and this is the kind of thing that happens. Not bad. The kid was learning to tell jokes. Try not to puke, guys, Billy said. Then he flushed. Early morning traffic was picking up. Trucks with deliveries to be made. Buses carrying opening shift cooks and food prep people to their gigs. Go-getter LinkedIn types wanting to be at their office or startup at the crack of dawn. Icepick figured maybe he should have put another overlay atop Herbie, but after a few moments' thought, he decided against it. Yes, Oganov or his people might see the distinctive white VW Beetle in the area and know Icepick was on to the goblin. But that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. By now, most likely, the key players in Lumencia knew Icepick was there and knew what he was after. Let Oganov see Herbie. Let Oganov know Icepick was at the club. Let Oganov panic, because people who panic make mistakes. Icepick had already checked 2 junction boxes. 1 more to go. He double-parked Herbie near it and was about to get out when his cell phone rang. Vestinian, again calling for details? Icepick answered. Yeah. I say, is this the legendary bounty hunter known as Icepick? South Carolina plantation accent. Perhaps Georgia. Gravelly voice, full of smiling energy. Boss Hogg, I presume. That is correct, sir. I must say, I have been an admirer of your work for years. A true aficionado. I tell you, I dare say, you are in the top 5 bounty hunters alive today. Icepick knew he was number 1, although Finish the Job Johnson and the always underfoot man in gray might also lay claim to that title. Icepick knew it. Everyone knew it. Which was probably why Hogg had said top 5, so he could include himself in the high-end rankings. I heard about your handling of the hag in Helsingor, Hogg said. Oops, sorry. Wrong character. I heard about your handling of the hag in Helsingor, Hogg said. Shurikens through all 3 eyes. I say, masterful stuff. That brought a smile to Icepick's face. It was nice to be recognized, and that had been one nasty bit of work. I've heard of your work as well, Hogg. That Kolkata job impressed me. Is it true you bagged 10 Kangals in one evening? Because that is a lot of skeletons. Hogg laughed. Icepick had to admit it. It was a great laugh, full-bellied and unabashed. Well, I admit it was only 8, Hogg said. But I am flattered, sir. Flattered, I say, that you know of my work. Now, I apologize for my brusqueness, but I am chasing a Manigishi down here in Memphis. It's raising holy hell, tricking the locals out of small business loan money, and the city council wants it gone. Now, the reason I'm calling, I say the reason, you hear, is a fella named Vestinian suggested I give you a ring. Yes, it was nice to be recognized, and it was also nice to ask for a thing and get it. Vestinian had made good on his word. That's wonderful, Icepick said. He was rather convincing that I should share what I know. I've never met the man, but I've no desire to be on his bad side. That's wise, Icepick said. What can you tell me about Oganov? Well, he is a fussy little feller, that's for sure. Real organized. He wrote me and a few others in on this small bounty for some kid in Lumencia. Oleus Oakbeard was there too. Do you know him? I do not, Icepick said, but I have heard of his work. He is a strange one, I will tell you. He has a real bone to pick with Linc and Franks on account of Franks getting all horizontal with his daughter. Do you know Franks, the man in gray? We've met, Icepick said. Well, Oakbeard hates him. Oh, and the Flechette sisters were there with us too. They're dead. Franks killed them. And he killed this other fella named Pragman. Icepick knew about the demise of the Flechette sisters and their big cats. That tango certainly hadn't hurt the man in gray's reputation as one of the best in the business. Anyway, Oganov brought us all in, Hogg said. We hunted that kid for a while. His name was, I say, it's on the tip of my tongue. Oh yeah, Billy Middleton. Lived in that ghetto, Tullenwood. What did the kid do to Oganov? Something to do with a drug deal the Franks broke up. Oganov blamed the kid. Interesting. Did you ever get this kid? I did not, Hogg said. Kid left town as far as I know. Doesn't matter, because Oganov pulled the old switcheroony and paid us 10 times that bounty to go after Callista. Now, I admit, it might not have been the smartest business decision I've ever made, but you can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs. The backstory helped, but Icepick already knew most of it. What can you tell me about him, Hog? About Oganov, I mean. Well, he's a goblin. About Oganov the goblin, Icepick said. Well, he sure does love his tracksuits. He asked us to do a job, and he paid well for it. He asked us to do a job, and he paid us well for the work. Hell, he didn't even get mad at us when we got our tails shellacked in Callista's club. No threats and nothing like that. He just let Oakbeard and I go our separate ways while he 23 skidooed out of town before Callista could turn him into a whole mess of flame-grilled burgers. Now that was good information. It meant Oganov was talented at hiring talent, at managing talent. That he had no money right now mitigated that skill, but not all the way. Icepick himself had worked for the promise of future payment several times. What about meshwork? Is Oganov a caster? Any filament resonates I might use to track him down? Not that I am aware of, Hog said. I don't think he knows magic himself. Hell of a second story guy, though, and he is fantastic at strategy. I mean, if it hadn't been for Frank's, our shindig with Callista would have turned out a mite different. Icepick felt that familiar flutter in his chest. Oops. Yep. Icepick felt that familiar flutter in his chest, that first spark of hopeful excitement. Is Oganov a creeper? Hell yes he is, Hog said. Oh, he was anyway. That's how we came to power in Miami. Worked for the syndicate there, robbing and blackmailing and such, then took it over with a bit of skullduggery. He can still pick locks like nobody's business. The pigman's words fanned the spark into a small flame. Lock picking, Icepick said. Does he know counter meshwork? Does he know electrical? Hog made a thoughtful noise, a throat-clearing sound that could have been mistaken for him pushing a bit too hard on the toilet. Oh, not that I'm aware of, he said, but I would guess that's likely. You don't creep for the Russian mob unless you can handle the big three, am I right? The flame grew hotter. I'd say you're spot on. Anything else you can think of? Any aliases he went by? Restaurant preferences? He have any bars he likes in Lumencia? I didn't socialize with the man, Hog said. It was all business. I'm afraid I've told you all I can tell you. Which hadn't been much, true, but Hog's knowledge strummed the strings of Icepick's instincts. I thank you for your consideration, he said. I'll be sure to let Vestinian know how helpful you were. I truly would appreciate that, Icepick. Here's to hoping our paths never cross in the bad way. As charming a valediction as one could ask for from a fellow bounty hunter. Goodbye, Hog. Good day. I say, good day to you, sir. With that, Hog hung up. Icepick got out of the car. His double-park job was causing a traffic slowdown. He needed to get out of there before some Johnny Bad showed up. He went to the junction box. Some fresh scratches on the lock. It had been manually picked. This was the one. He pulled a small, special spiked shuriken, one named Kagawari Hari, from inside his trench coat. He knelt, slipped the tip into the lock. Tuosaku Hari no Michi, he said. The phrase, which roughly translated to the path of needles splits the door, activated the shuriken's meshwork. Filament threads slid inward, mapping tumblers, moving them just so, and locked became unlocked. Icepick put Kagawari Hari away and opened the junction box. Now, he didn't know a great deal about electrical systems, but he knew enough to spot the signs of a quick and dirty rewire job. This was where they had cut the power to the club. Dante. He was a creeper. Had he done this work himself? Icepick looked up and down the sidewalk. A little foot traffic, but it was barely dawn, and people either had their heads down or their eyes fixed on a phone. Herbie, Icepick said, check it. The VW Beetle's hood morphed, stretched like rubber. A white mass that vaguely resembled the head of a rather large turtle ran under a parked car and thrust into the open junction box. Almost, but not quite, touching the wires and the circuit boards. The reptilian nose sniffed once, twice. The third sniff lasted several seconds. Then it went quiet. The stretched out, red and blue striped white, sorta turtle, sorta car went absolutely still. Bingo. Back, Icepick said. Like a huge rubber band stretched tight before being released, Herbie's head and neck retreated. With a clank that sounded like the car had hit a pothole, the beetle was a turtle no more. Icepick got in and drove away. The game had changed dramatically and in excellent fashion. Because Herbie now had a scent. While Icepick could not know yet whose scent it was, his gut told him he already knew. It was the scent of Dante Oganov. Oop. Yes, Daniel Baker, he is a creep. He's a loser. What the hell am I doing here? Oh, Dylan dropping bombs in the chat room. What's up, son? Okay, here we go. Not saying you're right, not saying you're wrong. Mike King just tuned in. Miss Boss Hog. You miss Boss Hog. Yes. Yes, of course. It's Foghorn Leghorn, you guys. That's who it is. It's Foghorn Leghorn. That's my I say. I loved Foghorn back in the day. Deep Cuts 59. Well, hello. Hello. Why don't you open that up, pumpkin? I'm dying in here. Anyway, fucking OBS. Hello, everybody. All right. The sleigh lower third off. Switch cameras. And I know we usually have the round of applause for Abe, but ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Evo Terra in the house.
Hey, that's me. Hello.
There you go. Now you're on.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to me.
How you doing?
Doing well, buddy.
The camera makes this look like both a huge sunburn all of a sudden. It's crazy.
Well, you know what? You can fix that in post, right?
Kinda.
Yeah, whichever you want to do.
You look like an 80s gangster film right now. It's great.
Oh, new scotch. We should cheers.
Cheers, bud.
Cheers, brother. Although, the rich history of Scott Sigler and Evo Terra drinking scotch together.
It is. We spoke of potholes earlier. There have been some potholes on this particular journey, you guys. I can say that some of the hangovers have not been pleasant at all.
Not even a little bit.
All right, guys. That's obviously the chat up there. I've got a window in case we got to look up any websites and shit. It's great.
Right.
All right, cool. You guys. Let me do housekeeping. We'll knock this out real quick. Crypt Book 2's copy edit will go out the door this week. Then there's one more. The copy editor reviews it one more time. I get a real quick and dirty one, and then that is going to print. We are working on the cover for it right now. They're doing 3D modeling of an Octhera, of the armored personnel carrier, and it's going to be super awesome. Really looking forward to that. No AI art for this cover. Zero, none, not doing it. I'm also working on the GFL 7's final draft, and that will be the next project. Sunday, June 29th, Slay episode 101 Duct Tape hit the podcast feed. Friday, June 27th, Deep Cuts episode 57, 100 episodes of Slay with Rob Otto went live. Sunday, July 6th, tonight's episode, Slay episode 102, New Phone Who Dis, will go in the feed. And Saturday, July 5th, of course, we have Steve the Iceberg Rickyberg's Junkie Meetup. He hangs out for a very long time so that people from all over the world can come hang out with other junkies. It's kind of cool. You guys should check that out. And If there's a deep cuts topic you would like to hear, of course, email that to info@emptyset.com. And I come up with new topics, but we always like to hear, from you guys what you want to talk about. Heads up that next week, our writing retreat with Slay co-author Rob Otto. He will be our live guest on Deep Cuts. We don't know the topic yet, but it's Rob. It will probably be funny. And of course, if you're on YouTube, slap the like, click the bell, subscribe, all that other happy horse shit. All right. You ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll, brother.
Ready to roll.
Let's
Here we
do
go. All right. So, of course, now we're going to Deep Cuts. There is no more story to be had for the rest of the show. So if you guys only tuned in for the fiction and want to bail, I won't hate you that much.
I might.
A little. I hate you. See, Kyle's fucking beating it. He's like, Kyle's like, screw you, man. I only came for the story. I'm out. Like that. I'm out. Of course, Kyle has like a pack of Marlboros rolled up in one sleeve. Badass. He's kind of badass. Okay, and that's about it. Ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll, man.
Okay.
Let's do this thing. I'm just going to tell the people that while Scott is away for the next few days, I'm going to be reading that early draft copy of KC.
You totally can. Okay, Scott's mic. Oops, solo, record. Okay, let's see if I got sound. Evo, give me a
Let's see if I have sound. Oh, looky there.
Nice.
I see volume.
Looking luscious. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Long ago, in a world without podcast fiction, a hero by the name of Evo Terra launched a podcast called The Dragon Page. On that podcast was the first ever podcast novels. Now, 20 years later, he joins us to talk about 2 decades of podcast fiction, evolution. A lot has changed since then. We'll get right into it after this quick break. Somebody says it's weird hearing me again. It's been too long.
Oh, well, it has been a long time. Hello.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It has been many, many a year. I hope you guys all enjoy as we do this.
Mm-hmm. Second to get coordinated here.
Yeah. No, take your time.
Bumper crop tuned into watching, man. That's great. Here we go. Welcome to Deep Cuts, the bonus episode of the Scott Sigler. Welcome to Deep Cuts, the bonus episode of the Scott Sigler Slices Fiction Podcast, where a sci-fi author and an audiobook narrator, who's not here today, discuss things and stuff in the world of fiction and pop culture. I am Scott Sigler, sci-fi horror author known far and wide as the future Dark Overlord, and instead of a real girl herself, today we have Mr. Evo Terra.
I am, in fact, Evo Terra. I have known this fool for 20 of the years that we've been doing this, and a lot about the fiction podcasting, which I know we're going to get into in great detail. A reminder, this is a bonus episode in the Scott Sigler Slices podcast feed. It is not part of any particular story. You don't have to listen to this to keep up on our current tale, but we think you'll like this peek behind the storyteller curtain. Evo, you ready to talk some shop here? Why, yes, Scott. I would love to talk shop with you, my friend.
Shop. Let's go set a timer.
Because we are long-winded individually. You can imagine that is geometrically.
We got to put some commercials in this motherfuckers. We got to do. So hold on. I'm actually gonna give us a little bit of a longer time here.
Okay.
And boom, here we go. So, Evo, welcome to Deep Cuts. For those who are not familiar with you, can you give them a quick overview of your history with fiction podcasting?
Yes, I certainly can. Again, my name is Evo Terra, and as Scott said, way back in the early days of podcasting, actually even before podcasting, crazily enough, I was the co-host of a show called The Dragon Page, and we were interviewing science fiction authors. Many of them names you might know.
That was a syndicated radio program, right?
It was, yeah. Back in 2002, when we started this, it was just internet radio, and that's where we began. That became into a podcast in October 14th of 2004. Yes, I remember the exact date. And since that time, my love of fiction in the podcasting world has been great. I started podiobooks.com in 2005, largely because Scott and the other 2 guys who started putting out their novels as a podcast form right away, I said, maybe there's something into this.
Wait a minute. Yeah, so you started podiobooks.com, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting. And that went for about how many years?
We shut it in 2015.
Okay.
So it made it 10 years.
10 years.
A 10-year run. Yeah.
Was the industry changing? Was the reason you shut it down? You're not getting any advertising? Was too much time? What was the reason for its eventual sunsetting?
Yeah. So there are 2 primary reasons why things ended for podiobooks.com. One was when we started this, you remember this back in the day, there was no such thing as an Amazon Kindle. There wasn't an ebooks
That's right.
weren't a thing really at the time, and so that changed very quickly. And it's a whole lot easier just simply to push a button to upload to Amazon than after you've written your book than it is to actually sit down and record for hours and hours and hours in your closet. Right. That was number one. The second one was the changing nature of what we call fiction podcasting. And that it started out with a bunch of people like Scott, a few others who were making their own narrated audiobooks in serialized form, but it quickly, well, I shouldn't say quickly, it evolved into where we're at with fiction podcasting now, which is full cast audio drama, a lot of interesting world podcasting within podcasting. I mean, the entire industry has changed. And I don't think it's for the worse or for the better. It's just changed where it was. So while there is still room for single narrator audiobooks in serialized form of podcasting, we still got that. Still going strong with your stuff as well. There's a lot now that have gone into way more involved production.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more production going on now. And some of the big ones, let me find my slide here. Some of the big ones, for example, Realm, which currently is the host for the Scott Ziegler Slices feed and goes out and gets advertising for us and all that good stuff. They are kind of what Patio Books was, but on a more corporate level, if you will. A lot of stuff going on. And the big shows out there, we've got Leviathan Chronicles, and it was an early full cast.
Very early full cast.
I don't know if it was the first, but super early full cast.
Very, very. 2007, I think, is when that started. There were a few more before that, but that's kind of the one that really took off.
And they have just released a new title, the Invenios.
Yes, one of those words. Yes, it's in the Leviathan Chronicles world. Christoph just put that out just a few days ago.
Yeah, so, Christoph is rolling there. And then there's others. There's people who are sort of in the ballpark of the age that I was, that we were when we started this stuff. There's a bunch of young guns out there putting out these massive full cast productions, shows, like many of the shows on the White Vault. And of course, one of the kings in the world of horror fiction podcasting, Old Gods of Appalachia.
Absolutely.
Just a juggernaut. Like they go on tour, they pack 300, 400 seat theaters. So this is where things have got to, is the full cast seems to be the dominant force right now.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the great thing about it is it's fiction podcasting, or podcast fiction, or audio fiction, I just simply call it, has really, I think, come into its own, where we started with serialized audiobooks, and we certainly had audio dramas, which the BBC and other companies have been producing for years. I mean, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a great version of that. But now, because podcasting has evolved so much, we're now getting fiction podcasts that are actually podcast within podcasts.
Okay.
Like my favorite one I've been listening to lately is called Sherlock & Co. from Goalhanger Studios out of the UK.
Okay.
If you enjoyed that reboot of what they called Sherlock, I think it ran from 2010 to 2017 or something like that. It had Bimberdach Cumbersnatch, whatever his name is, inside of it.
Bumberding Hooper Poof.
That's him.
He's great.
They now are they're basically doing that, but in podcast form. And actually, Dr. John Watson is making a podcast while he's following Sherlock Holmes around solving all these crimes.
So it's a whole meta.
It's very meta.
Great.
It is very, it's both humorous and super intense, which in that humor is good, because some of these things they're dealing with this is not comedy. I mean, we are talking serious, challenging issues that they're talking about as they're solving these cases. So, and that is something that couldn't have happened before. I'll give you another example. There's a show called Malevolent.
Okay.
Malevolent, no spoilers here, that it is basically a person named Arthur goes blind and is now inhabited by some demonic voice that he's eventually going to call John. And John has to, John has to explain to Arthur what's happening in the room around him, because Arthur is blind.
Okay.
And
that helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And it could only be done in podcast form.
There's a lot of full cast productions where they haven't figured out how to do that part.
Yeah.
And it's just characters walking around like, I see a white wall with things hanging off the wall. And it's really hard for me to listen to.
Yeah.
Because I understand where they're coming from, and it's a non-narrator. So there's full cast, no narrator. Then there's full cast with a narrator who can do that old school BBC, old school work, and tell you and set the scene for you and tell you what we're seeing. And then this is a different thing though, like intentionally creating a character that everything must be explained to that character, and then you were side by side with him. Is that how common is that right about now?
We're seeing more people take this whole exercising more creativity with this medium, where content comes out on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis or every other month basis, whatever word you want to use for that one. We're seeing more of that, and I really enjoy seeing the creativity that's really happening in and around this space that are really embracing the podcast portion of this. It's quite fascinating. Still, there's a lot. You mentioned 3 different types of fiction. We could probably spend all night talking about the breakdowns we have in the audio fiction world. But yeah, those tend to be the most common. I am a big fan when there either is all narrator or no narrator. It's kind of my preference. But I listen to a lot.
So you don't like the middle ground of that. The deep voice guy saying they enter the room and they see blood on the floor.
And I think the reason I don't like it is I think a lot of it's unnecessary.
Okay.
I think just like when you are doing your narration and your things, there's a difference between writing for the page and writing for audio specifically, right?
Okay,
Audio,
yep.
repurposing is one thing, but with audio fiction, you don't need a lot of the exposition, the he says, the she says. Just let that voice do it.
Yep.
And there's the question of what I do with sound effects. A gunshot went off. Bang! Make up your mind. What's it going to be?
What's it going to be? You can't do both. That's always tricky.
Yeah, that's what that middle ground. It's just really hard to do.
And one of the things Evo is doing right now is a newsletter called The End, the only listener-focused directory for completed audio fiction. Because all you sons of bitches, I'm fucking talking to all you, don't listen until the goddamn season's done. So
That's me, baby.
As you burn in hell, because I'm working my ass off every fucking week, and then you go, you mainline all of it. I just want you to know there's a site out there for you. This is the end.fyi.
Yep.
And he's got all these collections here. So if you are a podcast fiction junkie, this is a thing you need to sign up for.
There is a lot there, yeah, and we add content to it almost every single day. And yeah, I've been doing this for a couple of years now because, as you said, I am the kind of person who likes to wait until everything is done. And then I binge listen. I binge watch. I didn't watch The Last of Us season 2 until the whole thing was done, and I wish I would have waited until season 3. But anyhow, spoiler, ends on a cliffhanger. So that's the way I prefer to listen to content. And I also know from my days back at audiobooks.com that as soon as a book reached its last episode was published, we saw a download spike.
Yep.
So people like this stuff. They don't like getting into the middle of a show and then it just disappears. And that's the negative of podcast fiction growing to the point that it has and becoming so complicated is, look, it's one thing to sit in your closet and narrate your audiobook week after week. It's another thing to have 60 different cast members and try to produce
really
that
tough.
with soundscaping and all that. So it's really hard. So it's not uncommon for shows to close before their actual seasons are over. So at the end, we're just delivering you, what do we have? Almost 1,400 shows right now listed in our directory, all links to the various places, Amazon, Spotify, whatever you want to listen on. Sometimes they're only available in ebook or audiobook form. Sometimes we have several that are exploring YouTube channels now. Just YouTube, nothing else, which is a mistake, but they're just doing it on YouTube. And so that's what The End gives you. You find the book that you're interested in and you go find ways to listen to it. Go back to the collections page, Scott, all the way on the top of this one. Explore the directory. Hit that button right there.
Bingo.
And then explore collections.
Okay.
So here's a list of collections that I have put together. So for example, I have one. My favorite one probably is this one called "We Had a Good Run, People." Click into that. These are basically post-apocalyptic shows of what is, which is one of my favorite genres to me. And so as you go through this, you can see all of these various shows. And we're nice. We tell you how many seasons we have, how long it's going to take to listen, is it the entire thing complete? All that information is listed right there.
Now, for you, even though you're directly immersed in this, it fucks with my head a little bit to be like, when we started doing this, there were three people with a full book. I know Mer Lafferty was also doing some fiction.
Yes.
She was mostly talking about the
she was
writing,
doing her essays mostly.
And now you look at this, and some of these are big budget. Some of these are fucking.
Well, Birds of Empire that you just have scroll up right now. Birds of Empire, that's from Q Code.
Okay.
I don't know how much they spent on that one, but I know it is a 6-digit number that starts with a 5.
Okay. And that is mostly because of cast? Is that how it works?
And it is casting, because some of these have to pay for very expensive talent. But also, it's the amount of time this takes.
Yep.
Because you've got sometimes 30 different voices in an episode with soundscaping, and you need to make it sound like in this time they're in a plane, and over here now they're in a cavernous room. And it's just effort. I know we're talking hundreds of people hours to put out a single episode that you're going to enjoy in 30 minutes. So yeah, they're just a lot of work.
And how much a show like We're Live that is continuously putting out episodes still.
Yeah.
Leviathan Chronicles, We're Alive, in your opinion, were those the first runners sort of prove the concept to the world of, yes, we can have this big cast and make these broad soundscapes, and basically we're shooting a movie just without visuals.
Yeah, I think those are two very, very good examples. You know, Casey Wayland does the We're Alive series, and it's amazing how far that goes. And I don't even know when that thing started. It was so
it was
so
right
long
around
ago.
our time. Yeah,
right around the same time, and still going strong today with new content. Yeah, I think those early pioneers in this full cast, dramatized, whatever you want to call it, is certainly a good I guess a good representation of what the medium was going to be able to do, and still doing it today.
Yeah. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Interestingly, they put ads in, but we don't always know there's going to be an ad.
Oh,
so
right.
you can't say we'll be right back after this ad.
Right.
Because then we sound silly.
You sound like,
silly.
hey, what do we do? We didn't take a quick break. So Evo had to go pee. So I tell people.
Here we go. And ready, we'll get right back into it. Welcome back to Deep Cuts. This episode, we're talking about 20 years of podcast evolution, and that emphasis on the syllable is because with me is Evo Terra, the godfather of podcast fiction. Do you feel, I know we're all getting old, but like,
we are getting
you
old.
literally,
I literally am a grandfather. It's true. I have a 7-year-old granddaughter. Yeah.
So you think about when we started associating with each other.
Yeah.
There were 3 podcast novels, and then there was, Audiobooks.
Yeah. Right.
But first, all 3 were on Dragon Page.
Right.
When did you start Audiobooks?
Audiobooks.com started in 2005.
And when it started in 2005, what was the initial influx of shows like? Was it a trickle, or did it come right out of the gate? People are flooding in, making their thing.
It was very much a trickle, right? We put those 3 shows up, you know, yours, T's, Mark's, online. That'd be Earthcore, that would be Moravi or More 6, and the Pocket and the Pendant were the first ones that went live. And then we had one by Paul Story and a few others that had, you know, we found out about, you know, after the fact that had put on there. But when I pitched this idea to the hosting company at the time, Libsyn.com, they asked how many shows I thought. I thought, I don't know, maybe 30. Maybe we'll get 30 shows after a couple of years, right? And then it's 700, which I thought was a crazy number. That's how many shows were on audiobooks.com before we shuttered it in 2015. But now, today, there are over 10,000 fiction podcasts. Now, not all of them, you know, many of them have pod faded. Some are complete. We've got, you know, again, almost 1,400 of them listed on the end right now that are complete, at least with one season. So yeah, audiobooks.com was a slow swell, but now the creativity of people who, and I think the pandemic spurred a lot of this.
Okay. Yeah.
Almost just like in 2008.
Time on their hands.
2008 when the economy crashed.
That's right.
Everybody had time on their hands, and we had all sorts of new cool things doing it. So we're still seeing that happen today. It's great.
10,000. That's insane.
Yeah.
And now, like, I was in the right place at the right time. We started out.
Yeah.
I was an early adopter. Sort of saw where this was going. And when people realized, oh shit, I can go listen to a book, I can listen to a story in a podcast, which nobody had, I benefited greatly from that.
Absolutely.
And then there was, after 3, 4, 5 years, ESPN, PBS, all the big networks got in. The podcast space got flooded. It was much harder to get traction, but you still could because you're telling fiction stories and they weren't.
That's right.
Now, 10,000 stories, huge backlog. How hard is it now for someone starting out with a fiction podcast to get any kind of traction at all?
Well, it's funny you say that, Scott, because my son, NJ, is now voice acting.
Okay.
He's in a show that's just launched their second episode. It's about brand new. And
what's it called?
It is called The Veins Below.
Okay.
Yes, there would be The Veins Below, and no, not that. But there definitely is a podcast.
Not
put
that
podcast on the end of that one.
Yes, let's do that.
We might find it. No, don't do that one. Oh, man, they got a website, but what the hell? Just click on the pod link. That'll be close enough for it. So
Got it.
that
Okay.
one will work right there. So this is what my son is asking me. Once the show actually comes up,
Let's go
if in
and do
fact
this.
it does. All right, fine.
Try
We'll use the
Acast.
Acast
We're
page.
Acast
Yeah, that's
right
their
there.
Acast page. It's probably just a Veins Below podcast. Or I don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't
Let's
matter.
go figure it out. You,
But-
you tell us about this what we're talking about, how difficult it is to get traction.
Right. So that's what my son asked me after doing this. He said, so Dad, what do I got to do to get people to listen to this show? And I laughed for a while. I said, you're asking the same question. Yeah, that's the one right there. You're asking the question that every creator wants. Where do I find my audience? And Scott knows the answer to this question. You bring your audience with you. That's the whole reason you're still, you got this career as a writer right now is because you built an audience.
That's correct.
And it's harder than ever to build knowledge podcasting because there are 4.5 million podcasts.
Million, not episodes,
4.5 million
individual
individual
podcasts.
shows.
Jiminy Christmas.
So if you use your podcast, whether you're using Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Overcast or whatever, those directories are just impenetrable because that's too many things.
It's too many things, yeah.
There he is. Look at that.
That's the man.
He's the sheriff.
That's the man right
Yeah.
there.
That's the boy. That is him.
There he is.
And
Spawn of the devil. There it is, right there. Yes.
good looking boy. Looks like his dad. Anyhow, so yeah, that's what they're struggling with. How do we get this show to grow? And there's not an easy answer. I mean, it is, you got to hustle. You got to get in the places where people are listening or looking for things to listen to. There's a great subreddit, our audio drama.
Oh, nice.
The best thing, if you're looking for, the best place if you're looking for fiction podcasts is please go to theend.fyi. However, if you're a creator, and you want to get into this, then this audio drama subreddit is really fantastic.
Okay.
281,000 members, something stupid like that. Lots of activity. You can post your comments and thoughts in here, and it's in a very welcoming and wonderful community. So yeah, they're good people.
There's
Thanks for doing Hitch.
Fool and Scholar peeps right
That's
there.
it, man. Yeah,
knocking it
Travis and crew up there. Oh, look, they actually went to Svalbard. Oh, wow, that's amazing.
They travel, and we had him on the show, and they travel an enormous amount. They go do all kinds of remote stuff.
Good on
so
them.
This is an excellent page. So
Yes.
at this point, I got the opportunity to be a first mover
Yes.
and understood the concept of pimping. If you like this, share the link. It's free.
Yeah.
Put it everywhere. Put it on Reddit. Put it on dig.com. Put it everywhere you want.
Dig.
That's not really of course you have to do that now, but it doesn't bring the same kind of rewards along, right?
It's just hard. It's
And
just
we
much
also
harder.
have Audible and others doing big budget fiction podcasts.
Yeah.
Trying
Yeah.
to cash in. What was that one, the first big fiction podcast? This lady went to a town. I can't remember the name of it, but I think it might have been NPR based. But now it's really difficult. Do they make their money back?
Well,
These big budget guys.
And herein lies the problem, right? So we just heard last week that Pineapple Studios is closing down. Pineapple did a lot of work for the HBOs and other places of the world where they were making companion podcasts and sometimes actually making, a totally new season of a show that had a television show that had been canceled or wasn't being made anymore, using the same big budget actors, using the same idea for big budget production and sound. And it just got shuttered because it's really hard to invest $500,000 or more in a show and have that pay for itself. Podcast advertising, as strong as it is, it's still really hard to earn your money back on those things because you don't get to license it. You're not selling it to someone else. Right now, every show that you watch on Netflix or whatever you're watching it on, Netflix bought. They're taking the risk on that. It's not they're not waiting on advertising revenue to come in for that. That's not who the creators get paid. But in this podcasting world, it is still very much, you got to find a way to make it pay for itself.
Yep.
And it's hard to do.
And when people go out and get Rosario Dawson to do a role, they're not, in my back of the napkin estimation looking at this, they're not getting the draw. People aren't tuning in to hear these big actors.
No.
Benedict Cumberbatch has actually done one as well. They just, the people who listen to audio are not really tuning in to see their favorite, very pretty movie stars.
You're right.
When you can only hear their voice.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't even know. I mean, it really doesn't matter. And I look forward to the point in the future, Scott, and I think we'll eventually get there, where individual voice talent on podcasts is a draw. It's already happening to a certain degree. There are certain people, when I find out that they're involved, I'm listening. Or sometimes not listening, but
Okay.
that's when when I know these voices are going to be in it. I know they're able to pull off things. We're seeing the same thing for producers. You know, you had up Casey Whalen's "We're Alive" just a moment ago.
Yep.
Casey is now producing shows for others.
Okay.
Fool and Scholar is doing that. Right over there. And you get to know these people and the kinds of shows that they make, and it's a draw enough for you. But the number of people like me who are that nerdy and geeky about this is really, really tiny today.
Well, the potential is clearly there because you've got, you got your Ray Porters and you've got Scott Bricks. You've got audiobook narrators that can sell thousands of copies no matter what the content is because people just want to hear that particular voice. Do you think in podcast fiction, have we got to a point yet, this acting talent, these as you mentioned, producers, but are there voices that like are starting to is it possible to make a living as a podcast fiction voice talent?
Oh, I mean, we're definitely seeing the area to where people are starting to recognize talent, and I want to watch, or in this case, listen to that particular talent do things. So yeah, that's happening. Can you make a living at it yet? I mean, some people do. Some people do, but it's the standard power curve, right? I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same. There are 10 people, and I'm making up a number here. There are 10 people who are killing it, and 100,000 that are barely hoping to pay for their hosting costs, and paying for the production costs that it happened as. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now we'll show one more here. This is another format that I've actually had a show produced by Table Reads, and this is a straight up Hollywood script. And they just have actors come in and read the script. And some of the actors aren't necessarily like, these aren't the biggest names in the world, but they're all working actors. They come in, they do a thing, and then they put in sound effects. So this is it. The narrator is the person who reads morning, dark room. They walk in and see the table has been overturned. Like that's one of the characters is that. And then different actors just read things. They record it all in one take, all in the same room and do that. How is this doing on the bigger scale? Now, Table Reads is top 5, top 3, if not top 1 fiction podcast all the time.
Hands down.
Is it because they're good at this, or is this a new wave of how to do things? It's pretty simple to do.
Well, you would think so, right? And I wish more people would do the table read mentality. I have a friend of mine who wrote some fiction, and I suggested that she make it. She's a podcaster, so I recommended she make it as a podcast. And my first suggestion was let's follow the table read format. But these guys are serious.
Yeah, they're serious.
These are serious sound engineers who started this the concept, and they bring in serious actors. Everybody is mic'd. Every mic is placed for the person that is there. I mean, it's not just here's a microphone. It is no, we're going to make this one perfect for you. And yeah, they record that all in one take, but then it goes into post-production.
That's a lot of work.
And that takes a lot of work to make, because they got to figure out which funny parts do we leave in, which to me is the best. When they make the entire table crack up, that to me I love very. But you can't have that all the time.
They break the fourth wall. Like, totally. Let's listen to people crack up a little bit, but not all the time. Exactly.
That is just really hard to do, and I think Table Read has nailed it. They're doing an exceptional job. And yeah, I think there are others that are trying similar ideas. Like I'll give you another one. There's a company called there's a podcast called Midst, MIDST, and it is improv-ish. But when I listened to the first 2 seasons, I had no idea it was improv. And I say improv-ish because it's not. It is. They are actually. It's almost like a role-playing game, but there's no dice or nothing, and you won't know that when you first listen to it.
Interesting.
But they are 3 unreliable narrators who are narrating a show together, almost live, but not quite, and putting a lot of effects and other things inside of it.
It's a Critical Role production.
Yeah, it is very much so. Yeah, they sold a Critical Role not long ago. It's an amazing show. I'm currently listening to Moonward, which is their little bonus thing where most of the time when Mitch does a show, all of the extra stuff is gone. But in this Moonward, they're just a raw. Here's our creative process. It's a raw recording of what we are doing, and they do the whole thing live in like 2 hour long, which I never listen to our long episodes. But I'm listening to these because I want to understand that creative process more.
So now, as we finish up on this, we've covered kind of how it started, where it's going. Talk about the end. The next 10 years, with your extensive knowledge of this space and how you've stayed in the space and been relevant for 20 years, do you see anything that's currently happening now percolating up to the top? Or do you think there are some things coming due to technology or due to the savviness of listeners? Where do you see podcast fiction going in the next decade?
Yeah, great question. And I think we've got a rich future. And I think because there are so many shows, again, 10,000 is a number. I've heard his number upwards of 60,000, but I think that number is wrong. So there's a lot of shows out there right now, and there are a lot of creative people. And one thing we are never seeming to run out of, even though our souls get sapped every single day during this current administration. Oh, was I not supposed to get political? I'm going to get political. Yeah. Still, the creative outlet exists. Right? You write because you have to write.
Right.
Most people I know who are creatives have to do the thing that they have to do. And podcasting still is a truly democratized medium.
Okay.
Spotify can throw their big money around and try and do something more, but still it's something individuals can do. So because of that, when you think about the future of podcast fiction, it's going to be every bit as weird and wonderful as it is today, times 10. There's going to be so many different ways. I don't think there will be a format. I think it continues to be just a ton of fractured little formats.
And there's such a huge opportunity for anybody, no matter what you want to do. If you can get a mic in front of a mic and learn to edit and learn to host and post, you can put your stuff out there still. Yeah. When I started podcasting, my light bulb moment was like, wait a minute. I can make my own creation and use free distribution all over the world with hostings that is very low cost. And I can reach my potential audience is every person who speaks English who's on the internet. You only need a very tiny slice of that big ass pie. And 20 years later, that pie is much, much larger.
Yeah.
And do you have any guess as to people we've never heard of who are making their living doing podcast fiction? Oh. They have not percolated all the way up, but they're making their customers happy. They're doing well.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that from some studios that are now doing things. And when I say studio, I mean a couple of people with microphones in an office like this. We're not talking about a major Hollywood studio here. I think some of the studios, you mentioned Fool and Scholar is an exceptional version, example of one of those Hug House productions. There's a variety out there that are really trying to cultivate talent and do various things. And they don't. The challenge with, I guess, with fiction podcasting and podcasting in general is, as you know, advertising model only makes sense when you're getting 50,000 downloads a month. And then it makes you like $1,000. Congratulations. Can you live on $1,000 a month? It's going to be hard to do that. Yeah. But those that figure out other ways to augment their income, same old story as everything else. And you got to do more than just that. But I think there are, just like there are plenty of people who are still releasing their podcasts as their own individual narrated books as a podcast feed, and they're making a living off of Patreon. So that can happen.
Patreon is a big thing. All right, last question on this is I've been preaching for 20 years. The thing that matters the most is consistently releasing episodes. If your audience is going to know every Sunday, Sig's there for me. He's going to have an episode no matter what the fuck's going on. This administration, that administration, my life, etc. Yeah. Sunday, I get a half hour off and I just get to listen to this very familiar voice to me. But I think that has changed recently. It's really not about every Sunday you have an episode out. These people finish the season, take time off, come out with another season. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Is there a better way to do it, or does everything work?
I don't think there's a better way to do it, but I think this. We know, because every single podcast study we've done for the last 20 years has said that the average number of podcasts a person subscribes to is between 6 and 8. That's it. Because you put out content at least once a week, are filling someone's audio fiction niche. So there's a very decent chance that the people aren't also subscribing to somebody else who's doing audio fiction every single week. Okay. So what I think is happening is people pick their 8 shows they listen to on a regular basis. But then when they discover the world of audio fiction podcasts, I think they are then going and finding shows that are, I've got a long 16-hour car ride in front of me. Let me find a book that is 16 hours long, or let me find an audio fiction show, an audio drama that's 16 hours long, and I'll take that with me. We're seeing more of that. It's filling in. It's not the regular update content they're used to, but it's that they're now grabbing audio fiction and using it for their filler time when they've got something else to do.
Great. I think that is going to do it for this show.
Yay.
Hold on. I want to go back to table read. Table read. There it is. Okay, we'll edit that. So
look at that guy.
You guys have been listening. We do this show live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can join us in the chat room. We'll respond with you. You can watch us live at twitch.tv/ScottSigler, youtube.com/ScottSigler, facebook.com/ScottSigler. If you're just hearing this after the fact and couldn't see the links, you want to search for Versus, VERSUS, by Scott Sigler, table read. You will get to hear a 2-hour feature-length script done at a very professional level with absolutely fantastic authors. And you also want to go to theend.fyi. And that is where you can see all the hard work Evo puts in to let you know, here, these are all finished podcasts. Go binge until your little booty falls off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please do that. I would appreciate that very much. Nothing costs a dime. Like everything I do, it's free. So go have it and have a good time.
Free from square one. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next episode with Rob Otto, the co-host of Slay. This will be recorded live during our writer's retreat as we work on Slay Seasons 4 and the final Slay Season 5. Until then, you all smell an awful lot like flowers. Okay, that's it. Now we're still live. But
we're still live.
The recording's done. So
okay. Got it.
Is anybody in the chat room pissed you off? Now it's time to call him
No, I don't think anybody pissed me off. Hi to everybody that I saw in there. And hey, Cobalt. Wow, great. So again, if you want, I shouldn't say again. Here's my promise to you guys that are still watching after the fact. If you will send me $20 via PayPal, I will tell you what's in Crypt Book 2.
Dude, he's going to have access to all the goddamn computers up here. I can't hide everything, for fuck's sake. It's cloud-based. What do you want?
Although, honestly, though, that's you and I have this kind of relationship because I remember the time when I came to visit you in San Francisco. And by came to visit, I mean I told him, look, I'm coming to your house and staying with you, right? Who are you debating with? Was that Werner Vinge? Or
Werner Vinge was that debate. Yeah, it was wild. It was wild.
So I got to sleep in Scott's study. And I shit you not when I say this. He had a Gantt chart wrapped around 3 walls of the entire Sigler universe.
Yep.
And it blew my friggin' mind because I'm familiar with all of this. I've listened to all of this stuff, but wow, it was kind of amazing. And I was very good about not selling those secrets. I am
very
now
good.
I am now less good.
It cost me a pretty penny though. In the chat room, Evo, people are delighted.
Good.
They're like,
I like that.
Glad I made it tonight. Cobalt, this is awesome.
Hell
Chris
yeah.
Grell, this is the bonus content. Tori, people loved it. Thank you for Patio Books years ago. If it wasn't for that, I would have never found Scott Sigler. I think that's 4X. I can't read. It's a little dark. And Dr. Campbell. Very interesting show. We'll have to go back and listen to it again. And then this, Sean, first time I saw Evo was Siglerfest 2019.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I was being stupid then. It was a good time. We should do that more often.
No, there's that. Siglerfest is retired, son.
I get it.
Unless things go absolutely crazy, which won't happen and people aren't leaving goddamn reviews on Audible for fucking Slay. 5 stars. Let's go. Get it going.
There you go.
The only way Siglerfest happens again is somebody with money comes in and goes, we want to put this on. Let's get it done so that A and I just have to fucking show up.
Can be there. Yeah.
We get to show up, half in the bag. Maybe have had some edibles, say hi to everybody, hang out. It's a good time. It was just too goddamn much work.
It was a lot of work. I mean, I was there a couple of times and I got to see you during the times we were together at the show. The rest of the time you guys were balls out doing other things.
Chris Grell says, reposting, funniest thing I ever heard when Evo interviewed Scott about aliens phallus.
I made that joke.
It was goddamn aliens phalanx, but Jesus.
2 or 3 times, I think, during that, or over and over again. So awesome.
Don Shipley says, Patio Books is how I found Scott.
That's
Flying
good.
the bicycle, super fun tonight. It was really interesting because the chat room was dead quiet. I'm like, is everybody still in here? But you know what? They were listening to your mellifluous, silky delivery.
All of the knowledge.
It in. Yes. And now we finish, and now they pop out of the woodwork and having a great time.
Awesome.
You guys are fantastic. I am out of San Diego tomorrow morning, so I got to go get ready to go. And I hope you enjoyed this chat with Evo. It was fantastic. Loved it. Goodbye. Goodbye.